Well, the first question is analyzing the poem Listen, Mr. Oxford Dunn, which we've done using the poetry analysis model. John Agar was born in 1949 in British Guiana, but moved in 1977 to the UK. And despite his immigration to UK, where he's lived ever since the 77, he's still affected by the Caribbean culture. The poem is from 1985, and it contains 8 stanzas with each 4 line, except the first, the 6th, and the last stanza, where these contains only 5 lines. And there are certain times where John Agar uses rhyme scheme, but it changes all the way through the poem. So there's no specific order, but there are internal choices of rhythm and specific contrasts, e.g. gun versus run, axe versus syntax, and knife versus life.
John Agar uses the poem to represent the colonists and immigrants from the British Empire. He is critical to the British Empire and language, and he talks directly to the Oxford Dunn, who is a symbol of the well-educated Englishman. Agar declares that he mocks the Queen's English, which means that he will break with the English norms by creating and using a new form of English language. He does this to give equal status to the values of his people as opposed to the British English values that are much different.
The message is to combine the two identities, and I want to underline this specific quote, and here it is. There might be Puritans in any culture who say you can only be the master of one language, and that you shouldn't try to cross 2 languages. But do we only have one fixed identity? And I think that's the main point. Like, do we have to bring in new ones? Like, do we have to adapt to new people, or do we just stay the same? And I think this text puts an angle on this that says you get good stuff from learning new people and from new cultures. You can adapt the language in which this text adapts English to English, and it creates a new perspective on language, and it evolves, and it unites 2 different cultures in a way that they both can get together and feel that their own culture is represented in the language that they speak, which is essential for bringing people together, that they feel we have something in common, and then we can meet.
We're talking about the article "It's English in It," which we are analyzing on a non-fiction analysis model. The text is an informative text from the BBC News magazine, which describes a new form of English, which is mixed with South Asian languages. The Derry-based teacher Baljinder Mahal explains that this is an exchange between the British white population and the Asians. The receiver of the article is mainly the British people because it revolves around the formal language, which is now changing, used on a more multicultural playground. For example, with white pupils in schools that are now using more Asian words.
So question number 3 is to compare the message and the purpose of the 2 texts and see how it shapes our understanding of multicultural society. And here the different texts use the language as a factor of development, so when you create a more compound language, 2 cultures can melt together and minimize a class of culture. And being different is not necessarily a bad thing, because the language is a symbol of that. We're still fascinated by the great authors and poets, even though they use a different kind of language than us.
English as a language is a product of a multicultural meet between different colonies and the British Empire. Furthermore, the language is a huge part of our multicultural society.